When you said to me, you are not so old, did I know it then? 'Cause I had just been told I didn't.
Hey, this is Mike, Seder 42 Vinyl. I'm going to do another video. I'm going to take an idea that a friend of mine had. He was going to do this kind of for himself. He was going to make a website of like his Hall of Fame, like his favorite things like music and movies and things like that. So I'm going to kind of take that idea and just apply it to my vinyl collection. I'm going to pull out some records, and these are albums that are going to go into my album vinyl Seder 42 Vinyl Hall of Fame. So this would be like if you were able to pick anything from your collection that you could put into a Hall of Fame. I'd like to make this kind of a series, and if other people would jump on this and do their own Hall of Fame picks. And I'm going to pick 5 albums. This isn't going to be necessarily like artists, although probably these artists would be put into my personal Hall of Fame as well. But this is just going to be albums. This is kind of a way to show off some records, show some music that I like, some of my favorite stuff that I have, stuff that I've been listening to since it came out mostly, and I've loved these albums and these artists for years and years and years. They are just some of my favorite albums of all time. And so I'm gonna do a video series. I'll just keep adding stuff to it over time, and I'll do different themes. So for instance, my first theme and my first albums that I'm going to put into the Seder 42 Vinyl Hall of Fame are albums from the 1990s. So these are alternative bands, alternative kind of rock bands that, because of, Nirvana getting really big, Green Day getting really big, Soundgarden, bands like that, just Alice in Chains, bands like that just getting huge and selling tons of albums. Major labels started signing and scooping up tons of indie rock bands. Any artist that had a modicum of success, like even a small amount, were getting picked up and getting major label deals, getting thrown, up to $1 million record deals, just to start their careers in the majors. On MTV in the early 90s when Nirvana hit, 120 Minutes was a video show on MTV that would play tons of stuff like this. Alternative Nation had a bunch of stuff that they would play like this. But anyway, that's just kind of how, Nirvana, all that stuff in the early 90s got a lot of these bands recognized and signed. So the first album that is going into the Seder 42 Vinyl Hall of Fame is Matthew Sweet, Girlfriend. I could probably say that this is my favorite album of all time. I mean, it's really, really, really close. There are a few albums that could take that top spot, maybe even another album in this list that I'm going to show. This album is just so good. This is Matthew Sweet's third album, and the first 2 albums that he did were like kind of pop rock albums. They weren't necessarily in this style, alternative or power pop, which is basically what this album is. It's a really raw record sounding, not a lot of effects from the studio, from the producer. One of the best albums ever made, in my opinion. It's so many good songs. It's a 5 out of 5, a 10 out of 10, a 100% rating for this album. This is the Intervention Records reissue. So it's a 2 vinyl set. It has the album in full, which if you have a version of this, an older version before the Intervention Records version, it doesn't have all the tracks on here on vinyl. You could only get all the tracks if you bought the CD. This vinyl set comes with not only the full album with every single song in the correct order that the CD had it on, but it also comes with 3 bonus tracks of Good Friend, which is a demo version of Girlfriend, a song called Super Deformed, and Teenage Female, which are some tracks from the demos that almost made it on the album. Anyway, this album is going into the Seder 42 Hall of Fame for 90s alternative rock music.
She's in my dream. She's some kind of angel, if you know what I mean. Try her on, and she fits like a glove. Too bad she only thinks about the Lord above. Evangeline, Evangeline, I think I love you. Evangeline, Evangeline, I want you. Now if I called you up, do you think you could deliver my soul? Won't you take a drink, little darling, the cup is full. And every night I vow to pray, but I feel a whole lot better once you're coming my way. Evangeline, Evangeline, I think I love you. But Evangeline, Evangeline, I want you. So come on down. So tell me how you want it. Come on, tell me how you want it. Just tell me how you want it. You won't be seen. You can tell your father it was all a dream. Try her on, she fits like a glove. Too bad the only man you trust is God above. Evangeline, Evangeline, I think I love you. But Evangeline, Evangeline, I want you. Ooh, now Evangeline, Evangeline, I think I love you. But Evangeline, Evangeline, I know I want you. She's some kind of angel, you know what
The next album that is going into the Seder 42 Vinyl Hall of Fame is a band that I can't remember exactly how I discovered this band, but it might have been from my friend who found it first, and he might have played it for me. And that is the Quicksand album Slip. This is kind of what you would probably call now either a post-punk or an emo punk band, but really at the time, and even at the time, this album came out, and this came out in 1993, February 93. When this album came out, it was really, really hard to categorize. They played the single on this album, Dine Alone, on Headbangers Ball. It was on Headbangers Ball. I remember seeing this. I remember seeing the video for this song and the video for Carcass, No Love Lost. Like those two songs, for some reason, were on the same episode of Headbangers Ball. I'm pretty sure. So Headbangers Ball was getting a little eclectic. It was interesting because, Headbangers Ball always played like, hair metal, but they also played a lot of heavier stuff. stuff, like maybe in the later hours of the show. They played a lot of thrash music and stuff like that. But yeah, it was an interesting time in the 90s where, metal and what was considered metal or heavy music was expanding to Nirvana, Soundgarden. They would take up the majority of that first hour and a half of Headbangers Ball. And this band, not only is this album incredibly influential, it's just a fantastic album. It is just a 5 out of 5, a 10 out of 10, a 100%. When I was listening to this album, when it came out, I just had it on repeat. And it's funny because, how eclectic, music was in the 90s. The tour that I saw Quicksand live on, they opened for White Zombie and Anthrax. So it was the Sound of White Noise tour, and I believe it was the Los Exorcisto album of White Zombie. I think that album was the album they were touring. So it was, Quicksand opened, White Zombie came on second, and then Anthrax headlined that tour with John Bush singing, for the Sound of White Noise tour. That was just one of the most interesting shows, and it's just an excellent, excellent album. 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10, 100%. Every song on here is great. Yeah, this is a great band. I believe these guys are from New York. Yeah, this album has been reissued recently, and they did a tour, I believe, where they played the whole thing. This album at the time did not do very well at all. It was just kind of like an album that did maybe okay, but didn't hit, It's a great, great, great album, and it is going into the Seder 42 Vinyl Hall of Fame.
True.
All right. The next album that's going into the Hall of Fame is one of my favorite artists of all time. This would be probably on my top 10 favorite albums of all time. It would be up there with Matthew Sweet. When this album came out, I listened to it so much over and over and over again. I had the CD in the car. I would drive around just listening to it over and over and over and over again. I know the songs really, really well. I love this artist, and that's Juliana Hatfield. This is Become What You Are. This is Juliana Hatfield 3. This is her and two other band members that she consistently worked with under the moniker of 3 for 2 full-length albums. The album that she had before this was just herself, just her name, Juliana Hatfield, and it was Hey Babe was the name of that album. This album got a lot of play, and because of Spin the Bottle and My Sister, the 2 songs on here that are great hit singles, they were on a couple soundtracks, and they just got played quite a bit. This is I believe the 30th anniversary reissue. 30th, yeah. 30 years this album's been out. It's crazy. I bought it when it came out. I was like a fan of this album right away. Yes, this is just a fantastic album. It's so melodic. It kind of has a little bit of power pop tendencies in it because of the melodicism, and it really fits in that category, but I would probably say that it would be more indie pop. It would be the category of the album. It was played on MTV quite a bit, those songs. Very emotional lyrics on this. Juliana Hatfield, I do like the lyrics. I love this album. I was so happy when American Laundromat did the reissue. This album just hits me emotionally, when I listen to it. That's one of the things that I like it. It's like between the lyrics and some of the music and melodies, it's just really, really, really great. And Juliana Hatfield 3, Become What You Are, is going into the Seder 42 Vinyl Hall of Fame. It's one of my favorite albums from 90s alternative rock.
Was not prepared for what I found.
this is another album that I just listened to this before I made the video. I listened to it actually yesterday. I was just singing at the top of my lungs because every song on here is so good, very sing-alongable. But the album is so strange. It's discordant is what you would say, because of the weird time changes, weird riffing, off-kilter time signatures, just really, really wild music. And this band is not even, they're heavy, but they're just very, very strange as far as the songs are concerned, the way that they're written. The singer, it's like Queen, but it's also, the guy sounds a lot like Matthew Sweet. So it's like very, very interesting, this album. And this got signed to a major label. Again, another pickup from major labels trying to make, as much money as possible by signing every single alternative, rock band or indie band that had any modicum of success in their, area. And this album, these guys got a push through the major label, but the music is just so odd. And that is Shudder to Think. And this is the album Pony Express record. This album is fantastic. The singing on this album, the music on this album, the time signatures on this album. It's one of the weirdest major label signings that you'll ever hear. And these guys got a big push. And it's just so good. Craig Wedren wrote the majority of the songs on here. This album was mixed by Andy Wallace, who mixes a lot of metal albums. Some of my favorite metal albums, Fear of God, was one of the albums that he mixed that I love. Yeah, he's a really good guy in the studio to have to make your album sound fantastic. And these guys are just amazing. Craig Wedren and Nathan Larson are the main songwriters on the album. And Nathan Larson, just as a side note, is married to the singer of the Cardigans. Shudder to Think is one of the weirdest alternative rock signings to a major label ever. And this album is just so strange to listen to. Once it gets under your skin and gets in your ear and gets in your head, it just sticks. And it is impossible to not play over and over and over and over again. Again, all these bands were signed because of the success of, Nirvana, Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, Green Day, all that stuff, all those big bands. And they just the major labels just especially the first albums on those major labels from all of these bands, they kind of just let them do what they wanted. They really didn't go in there and mess with them because they just wanted to have that success, and they didn't. And I don't think the majors kind of understood this music. So they almost trusted the bands. The riffing, the singing, the way the songs are structured, how they, have very poppy parts to the songs, and then they go into these discordant riffs, right after a chorus. And then one of the songs out here, the hit single on it, or the single X-Friends t-shirt, has 3 minutes of them singing the same line over and over and over and over and over again. And it is amazing. It is fantastic. It's crazy is what it is. But this album is pure genius. That's all I can say. It is pure genius. I love it. It's great. It's fantastic. It's a 5 out of 5. It's a 10 out of 10. It's 100%. Great album. And like I said, the majors had no idea what they had. And again, this band influenced a lot of 2000s Deftones, all kinds of different bands like that, do covers of this or throw it into their, live shows slightly, singing lyrics from this album. It's just incredibly influential album for a lot of artists that listen to it. And, Jeff Buckley, I guess, was a very big fan of this album. Yeah, just great, fantastic album. If you've not heard this, you gotta listen to it. Try to get a hold of a vinyl pressing. They're pretty good. But yeah, this definitely needs to be repressed as well. This was on my list of the albums that I really needed to get right away, and I did. Anyway, fantastic album. Shudder to Think, Pony Express record, going into the Sadar 42 Hall of Fame for 90s alternative rock.
See what you really fast. I saw you screaming at the top floor. Big window crash. Death. So would you have to do that? that you let me in just to pour me down. Their mouths hold back the road that goes so that the others may too, that you let me in just to pour me down. Their mouths hold back the road that goes so that the others may too, that you let me in just to pour me down. Their mouths hold back the road that goes so that the others may too, that you let me in just to pour me down. Their mouths hold back the road that goes so that the others may too, that you let me in just to pour me down. Their mouths hold back the road that goes so that the others may too, that you let me in just to pour me down. Their mouths hold back the road that goes so that the others may too, that you let me in just to pour me down.
All right, the final album is, again, broken record here. I love this band, love this album. It's one of my favorite albums of all time. When it came out, this is really tough because the album before this is probably just as good. They might be completely even as far as, being best. And I probably could have just as easily picked the album that came out before this. But this album is a better pick in a way because it's the more interesting record. This band was very indie and was very against like major labels and bands that jumped to major labels. They kind of were pretty vocal about it when they were an indie band. But when the opportunity came to get a major label deal, mostly because Green Day, was just exploding. And again, major labels were just looking for any band that sounded remotely like Green Day. And they didn't even care if they sounded, similar or not. They just were like, hey, you sound a little bit like Green Day. Get over here. We're going to sign you up. We're going to give you $1 million, which these guys got $1 million sound signing, and they got creative control. They were able to do basically whatever they wanted, and they did. But the album, when it came out, was the fans of the band were like kind of, I guess, disappointed that they jumped ship off of the indie scene and joined a major label. They felt like the music wasn't the same, even though it kind of is. They felt like the singing was different, even though I don't think it's that different. I read all kinds of stuff about why people didn't like this album, and none of it made sense to me because I've loved this album since it came out. After the album that the previous album that I fell in love with, and I was incredibly excited for this album because I was like, I loved that previous album. I didn't understand it, and I didn't even know that the album wasn't that successful, honestly, back in the day because, I saw these guys live on this album tour, and yeah, there weren't a ton of people there, but there were enough. I'm going to show you the album now. This is a band called Jawbreaker, and this is the Dear You album. This was their first album on a major label, their only album on a major label. This album is a 5 out of 5, a 10 out of 10, a 100%. It's going into the Seder 42 Hall of Fame as one of the greatest albums that I own of 90s alternative rock. They're an excellent, excellent band. And again, this album has influenced so many people. They just recently, last year, the year before, or last year and the year before, toured this album in small theaters and did very well with this album. And this album did not sell. It did not sell in 1995 when it came out, September. It didn't sell. They actually did not repress it. I think they did like one pressing of it on CD at the time, and they were just like, they just didn't press anymore. They were just like, they just let it run out because it did not sell. It had a single. Fireman was a single that was on MTV, got played on 120 Minutes, Alternative Nation, whatever. I think I read on Wikipedia it got played like 5 times on MTV, and that was it, and it was done. It was over. They just didn't make it. They opened for the Foo Fighters later on in 96, when this album was still in its cycle. And then, after this, of course, they broke up. But yeah, this album is incredibly influential with a lot of bands. The reviews, especially the retro reviews now, if you go online and you read about pretty much any of these albums, you're going to find that the critics are just going nuts over these albums, and they're just like, these albums are so fantastic, how are they not like more well known? And that's kind of, I don't know, I'm not saying that I'm a critic or that I'm cool because I know these albums, but it is kind of cool that, to me, that I love these albums more. I don't even have Dookie from Green Day on vinyl. It's not an album. I have one of their earlier albums on vinyl that I kind of like a little bit more. I did have Dookie back in the day. I had it on CD. I listened to it a little bit, but I listened to these albums way more than the stuff that was popular. That album, Jawbreaker Dear You, is going into the Sador 42 Vinyl Hall of Fame.
It's time to leave this place. I tore through your wrist to find a better trap that fits. I saw through your traps to find better you, a part of you that lasts. I saw through your trap and into my own wrist. Saw we were through, red ribbons spilled to blue. Sight to saw your eyes. I got this dress, I'm hiking it around this waste of laughter. Slow dance alone with no one to the sound of 4 hands clapping. Congratulations to you both, I hope somewhere you're happy. If there's a moral to this story, then I wish you'd show me. Hair in the blood, flying the disappointment. Rubber, I'm glue, alright. The book on you, sticking to my face. Need a little less than what you take for granted. This is the sip that's drinking back from you, blacking out your eyes. You need a little more suppression of your appetites. This is your honeymoon, separate rooms, it's neither sweet nor bright. I got this dress, I'm hiking it around this waste of laughter. Slow dance alone with no one to the sound of 4 hands clapping. Congratulations to you both, I hope somewhere you're happy.
Those are my 5 albums for the Seder Hall of Fame. Entry number 1. This is the inaugural albums for 90s alternative rock or alternative punk or alternative music in general from my collection that I own. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. I would love to see other people do their own personal Hall of Fame entries and choose a theme, whatever you want. It could, you could follow my theme and do 90s alternative music and pick 5 bands that you, or albums that you would want to put into your Hall of Fame. All right. Thank you. Have a good one. Like, comment, subscribe. Bye.